Most disasters don't start with a bad decision. They start with a reasonable one. A decision that makes sense in the moment. A decision that almost anyone would make. That's what makes them dangerous. Because when you finally realize it was a mistake, it's already too late. Tonight's story is about a man who made one simple choice, and by the time he understood what he had done, his entire life was already collapsing. At first, nothing seemed wrong. In fact, the decision actually improved his life. More money, more freedom, more control. For months, it felt like he had made the smartest choice of his life. But then, something small started happening. A detail so minor he ignored it, and that tiny detail slowly began turning everything around him into a trap he had built himself. His name was Daniel. Daniel was the kind of person people trusted immediately. Quiet, responsible, predictable. For 10 years he worked at the same company, same office, same desk, same routine. Most people would have called his life boring, but Daniel didn't see it that way. He liked stability. He liked knowing exactly what tomorrow would look like. Until one afternoon, his boss called him into the office and offered him something that seemed impossible to refuse. The company was restructuring. Positions were being eliminated. Departments were merging. But Daniel's boss had a proposal. Instead of losing his job, Daniel could become an independent contractor. Same work, same projects. But instead of a salary, he would be paid per project. And the numbers looked incredible. Almost double his current income. His boss even framed it as a promotion. More freedom, he said. You'd basically be your own boss. Daniel asked if there was any risk. His boss smiled. Not really. And that's the moment everything began. Because technically, his boss wasn't lying. The first few months were amazing. Daniel earned more money than ever before. No more rigid schedule. No more office politics. He could work from home, wake up later, take breaks whenever he wanted. Friends told him he was lucky. Some even said they were jealous. For the first time in his life, Daniel felt like he had beaten the system. But there was something he didn't notice. Something small. Something almost invisible. His boss had slowly stopped calling him a team member. Instead, he used a different word. Vendor. At first, Daniel didn't care. A word is just a word, right? But over time, little things started changing. Meetings he used to attend, he was no longer invited to. Decisions about projects were made without him. When he asked questions, the answers became shorter, more distant, more formal. It felt strange. But Daniel told himself something simple. This is just how contracting works. And he kept going. About 6 months later, the first project delay happened. Nothing major, just a schedule change. Daniel expected his usual payment, but the accounting department sent a message. Payment would be processed after final delivery. That was new. Before, payments came every 2 weeks. Now they came at the end of the project. Daniel hesitated. But again, it seemed reasonable. Contractors work differently, right? So he agreed. And that decision quietly moved him one step deeper into the trap. Over the next months, projects became larger, longer, more complex, and payments became further apart. 3 months, 4 months, sometimes 5. But because the amounts were big, Daniel convinced himself it was worth it, until the day one project was suddenly canceled. Daniel received a short email. The project had been paused. Budget issues. The company thanked him for his effort, but there was a problem. Because the project wasn't finished, payment wasn't required. Daniel stared at the screen. Weeks of work, gone. He contacted his old boss immediately. The response came hours later. Short, professional, cold. Unfortunately, this is part of contractor agreements. Daniel opened the contract. For the first time, he read it carefully. And suddenly, everything looked different. Payment only after completion. Projects could be canceled. No guaranteed workload, no benefits, no protection. Daniel had spent years believing he had more freedom, but in reality, he had removed every safety net he once had. Over the next months, things got worse. Projects became unpredictable. Some were canceled, some were delayed, some paid late. Daniel tried to find new clients, but there was a problem. For years, he had worked almost exclusively for one company, which meant he wasn't really building a network. He was building dependency, and companies love dependent contractors, because dependent contractors have no leverage. 1 year after becoming a contractor, Daniel received one final message. The company had decided to bring the work back in-house. A new internal team would handle everything. They thanked him for his services and wished him luck. That was it. 10 years of loyalty, replaced by a single email. But here's the part that makes this story unsettling. Daniel didn't make a reckless decision. He didn't gamble. He didn't act irresponsibly. He made a choice that looked perfectly logical. More money, more freedom, more control. And that's why it worked. Because the most dangerous mistakes in life don't look like mistakes. They look like opportunities. There's a pattern psychologists talk about. It's called slow commitment. A situation where each step feels small, but every step quietly removes your options. Until one day you realize something uncomfortable. You can't go back. Daniel didn't ruin his life in one decision. He did it in 10 reasonable ones. And that raises a strange question. How many decisions in your life feel smart today, but are slowly closing doors you don't even see? Because the scariest mistakes aren't the ones that look wrong. They're the ones that look exactly right, until the moment you finally understand